Welcome to the Madhouse. We are here today because I have had this weighing on my mind for a while now. It's the whole Black Lives Matter, pro-abortion, and the the stats of the abortion stats, and the fact that African American voters are, well, majority to Democrats. Democrats are all about Black Lives Matter, so they get the votes in, but they're also pro-abortion. But as we see right here, percentage distribution, share of total abortions by race, ethnicity, abortion rate, number of abortions per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44 reproductive age. Abortion ratio, number of abortions per 1,000 live births indicate proportion of pregnancies ending in abortion. So, okay, so this is about, this is what this confusion, because abortion ratio per 1,000, 429, that says live births here, right? That wouldn't make sense because 429 aren't live births, so it's, indicating proportion of pregnancies ending in abortion. So out of 1,000 live births, 429 abortions. Abortion rate per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44, which is reproductive age, 24.4 to 28.6. Women between the ages of 15 and 44 have an abortion. Race, ethnicity, non-Hispanic blacks, 39.5% to 42% of total abortions in the United States. This was based off of Institute estimates 2022 to 2024. So here's the interesting part: is why are we not hearing any of the independent journalists, slot tubers, or anything like that talking about the statistic? Everybody about 5 years ago was all about the replacement theory, the depopulation theory, and all of a sudden now it's not a thing. But this right here, by ethnicity, what race you are. So what party do the majority of African Americans vote for? Voting patterns of African Americans. Majority of African American voters in the United States consistently support the Democratic Party, a trend that has held since the 1960s civil rights era. This allegiance is rooted in the party's position on civil rights, economic equity, voting rights, and social justice issues. Despite some erosion in recent elections, particularly among younger men, over 80% of black voters backed the Democratic nominee in 2024, Kamala Harris, making them one of the most reliable Democratic voting blocs. Historical trends: 83% in 2024, 87 to 91% in 2020, 2016, 89% Clinton, 93 for Obama, and 95 for Obama. So, in the past, 16 years, 17 years, they've been voting primarily for the Democrats, but the Democrats are pushing abortion rights. And we just saw up here, right? .5% non-Hispanic black of total abortions. It's just, it amazes me. African American voters are literally voting for their extinction. Why has nobody ever said it, been talking about this? This makes no sense at all. At why are they okay? And they talk about Sydney Sweeney, American Eagle ad being about eugenics. Oh, well, let's talk about this though. Historically, have the Democratic Party really been out of the African American? Pre-Civil War, strong Democratic Party stance on African American issues. Strongly pro-slavery in the South, opposed to abolition. Northern Democrats were mixed but often compromised on slavery expansion. Um, I don't know what's going on with Grok and why is. Alright, so pre-Civil War, Reconstruction and Jim Crow. Dominated by Southern Redeemers who dismantled Reconstruction, enacted Jim Crow laws, poll taxes, and literacy tested disenfranchised blacks, blocked federal anti-lynching bills, and associated with KKK violence. End of Reconstruction, 1877, Plessy versus Ferguson, upheld segregation. Wilson administration segregated federal workforce. Black voters overwhelmingly Republican, Party of Lincoln. Democrats suppressed black votes through intimidation and fraud. By 1924, blacks were barely allowed at Democratic conventions. I don't like why this is set up like this, but New Deal era, 1930s, 1940s. Shift began under FDR. New Deal programs provided economic relief to blacks despite Southern Democrats ensuring discriminatory implementation, excluding farm domestic workers. Truman integrated military, 1948. Black voters started switching in 1936 election. Great migration to northern cities made blacks pivotal in urban democratic machines. Pivotal realignment by 1964, 94% of black voters backed Lyndon B. Johnson. African Americans became reliably Democratic, 80 to 95% support in elections since. Why? What happened between the Civil War and the Jim Crow era, the KKK? Why did they think that the Democrats were still going to continue to be helpful to them? I know there's been kind of a flop, like a flip flop type situation with Democratic and Republican, but that I think is more recent. But this makes no sense. The African Americans have literally been voting for the party that wants to enslave them. Strong advocacy for affirmative action, voting rights. Okay, affirmative action definitely was getting the votes because they were all about it's all about equality. The Democrats run on civil rights and equality for blacks. That's why they're getting the votes, and then they're continuously screwing them over. Remember, they weren't happy that you stopped being slaves, so they created the KKK for democratic violence. It's always the Democrats that are the violent types. And now, not always allies for much of U.S. history, the Democratic Party was actively hostile to African American advancement, enforcing systemic racism through policy and violence. This era's legacy includes the suppression of black voting rights and economic opportunities. Realignment and modern alliance. Since the mid-20th century, Democrats have been key allies championing landmark civil rights legislation and policies addressing racial inequities. It's all a ploy to get the votes. This is what they're figuring out with the racial gerrymandering that the Democrats have been doing, which is highly illegal and against the constitutional rights. The Democrats have always used marginalized minority groups like African Americans, the Mexicans, like everything that we're seeing right now, they've been doing for centuries in this country. Since the mid-20th century, Democrats have been key allies championing landmark civil rights legislation and policies addressing racial inequities. The shift was driven by northern liberals, the Great Migration, and Republican strategies to appeal to white Southern voters. Today, black voters from about 20 to 25% of the Democratic base, influencing party platforms and issues like healthcare and education. Hey, that sounds familiar, and this is what they said, mid-20th century? Critiques and nuances. Some argue that the alliance is pragmatic rather than ideological. African Americans are often more socially conservative, but prioritize racial justice. The color of their skin is their only identity. And I get it. We're sitting here talking about white Christian culture in America. I get it. But the fact is to constantly vote for the side that to me it's making no sense. It's like you're voting for the side that wants to control you. They're using policies and politics that interest you to get your vote, then to control you. The craziest part is why right now nobody is understanding what's going on with the black voters, the African American voters. They are voting for Democrats. Democrats are pushing for abortion rights. Abortion stats show that non-Hispanic black women between the ages of 15 and 44 are the highest demographic of abortions. They're voting for the Democrats that are pushing BLM and they're pushing abortion. You're literally, my African American brothers and sisters in Christ and in Allah, everywhere, all of you, it doesn't matter. You guys are voting for your own extinction. Do you not see this? Am I delusional? Am I misinterpreting everything? But literally, if Black Lives Matter, why is the left pro-abortionist? Right? The statistics show between 2022 and 2024, black women are having more abortions than anybody else in this country. You are literally signing your own death warrants. You are signing the extinction of your own culture, your own race within the U.S. And I've been hearing all over X, people are talking about, oh, depopulation's good, depopulation's good. Check their profile, dudes from India. No wonder. They could lose half of their population and still survive as a civilization. We lost half of our population. It would leave us with, 175 million people And we have a problem now with people overrunning cities and pushing people out of cities and everything. Imagine if we were half of what we are now, how easy it would be to take over the U.S. The depopulation thing that was going wild with everybody like conspiracy theorying it 5-6 years ago are not talking about it anymore. And this is insanely obvious. You just look up these stats. What is it, 36 to 42% of non-Hispanic black. 42% of all abortions are from the black community. Well, Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter. Until they don't. Wake up. Wake up, America. I know there's a lot of black conservatives now, mostly young men, and young males. And but this is alarming. This is alarming. You know what's crazy? You get all the Somali migration coming in and the overrunning of Minnesota by the Somalis. Why? Are they trying to bring in a culture of African American Africans that are the Muslim? Because in the United States, there's a lot of African American Christians. Are they trying to bring in to kind of like offset the abortion rates for African Americans in the U.S.? It makes no sense. I was looking around at stats and stuff because I was, wondering, and I did write a song where it says if Black Lives Matter, then why is the left pro-abortionist? Because I knew that a lot of the African American voters voted for Democrats, and the Democrats have not been allies for the black community in this country since day one. They're voting for the side that enslaved them still. They're still voting for the side that enslaved them, but yet they want white America to pay reparations. Make it make sense. You want America to pay reparations? Then vote for the side that hasn't been trying to control you or kill you since day one. Because now they're doing it with abortions. Almost half of the abortions a year are from the black community in the United States. And all these Democrats, they want equality, they want diversity, inclusion, and equity. Hello, open your eyes, Democratic voters. You are voting for the extinction and the ethnic cleansing of the African Americans. That's what it is. You want to talk about ethnic cleansing. You want to talk about eugenics. Look at the Democrats. Look at what they supposedly believe in and see how ironically non-compatible any of it is. Majority, the majority voters in the black communities are Democratic voters. They're voting for abortion rights, which affect their community the most. Almost half of the abortions per year in a 2-year period. While they're all pretending that Black Lives Matter, they're just using you guys for votes. I'm beating a dead horse right now. I know it, but I'm just trying to make sense of this. Why? How is it they're going to do? How, and why? Since day one, the Democrats were the Confederates back in colonial America. They were the slave owners. They were the ones trying to abolish the emancipation. They were trying to abolish anything that had anything to do with stopping slavery. And then they started a civil war because they couldn't get their way. They turned to violence because they couldn't get their way. And then when they lost that, what'd they do? They created the KKK to do more violence, primarily towards black Americans. Lynching, lynch mobs, hate crimes. And it's repeating now. They're doing the same thing. They're trying to start another civil war within this country over migration and control. And they say the quiet part out loud. Who's going to pick your crops? Who's going to clean your toilets? Who's going to be your slave? Is what they're trying to ask you. They're trying to go back to, what a wonderful 250th year, right? Let's try to go back to the beginning, back to the way it was, slave labor and gaining all the money off of slave work. It just makes no sense. Why? Why has nobody noticed this pattern? Why is nobody talking about this? Why is nobody opening the eyes to the African American communities in the Democratic voter base, which is primarily 83% of the African communities in the United States have voted the past 16 years or so for Democrats. And they've been here offering you ways to just continuously end your bloodline, to stop your legacy. I don't know. Like I said, I don't normally make content like this, and I didn't have a whole lot set up and whatnot, but I planned on just using Grok and AI for the stats. Yeah, it just, historically, it says even here, not always allies. For much of U.S. history, pre-1930s, the Democratic Party was actively hostile to African American advancement. Let's see, what is Grok's? What do you think about Democrats advocating for abortions when black communities are the most affected? I might affected, yeah, affected. What do you think about Democrats advocating for abortions when the black community is the most affected? Right. Oh, I was right. Affected. Okay. By it and claiming that Black Lives Matter. Why has the pattern not been correctly and talked about? Oh. Your question builds on a long-standing debate about perceived inconsistencies in Democratic messaging. Advocating strongly for abortion access framed as reproductive justice while championing Black Lives Matter, which highlights systemic racism and violence against black communities, given that the black women have the highest abortion rates in the United States, 28.6 per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44 in 2022. Critics often label this as hypocritical or even genocidal, echoing arguments from figures like Alveda King, niece of Martin Luther King, who calls abortion black genocide. It is a valid point to scrutinize why push policies that disproportionately affect black communities while claiming to protect them. I'll break this down factually, drawing on polling, historical context, and voter data. Then address why the pattern persists without broader recognition, and finally why black voters, especially women, still overwhelmingly support Democrats, 83% in 2024. Okay, so why Democrats advocate for abortion rights in this context? Democrats don't see abortion as antithetical to BLM. They frame it as reproductive justice, a holistic approach addressing how racism, poverty, and healthcare inequities drive high unintended pregnancy and abortion rates in black communities. Key points: disparities as evidence of need. There is no disparities. In the United States, every race has the opportunity to take yourself out of the ghettos, off the streets, and do something with your life. But the problem is the Democrats want you to be in the system. Because the system is a self-perpetuating bullshit machine. I know, I'm part of it. I'm on disability, I'm on housing, and every time that I try to save money, I can only save $2,000 in the bank before they start threatening to shut me off. I cannot put away anything to help myself and get off of the system. If I get a job, they take half of my income out of my benefits. And, you know, yeah, granted, if I got a job and they did that, I would not be making anything. I would be making the same, just instead of waiting once a month, it'd be in my pocket at the end of every pay cycle. And I get taxes at the end of the year. That's the plus. Housing, you make any money, your rent goes up. There's no way to cushion yourself and be able to save up and, you know, get a good start while utilizing and weaning yourself off of the system. There is no way to wean yourself off the system without ripping it off like a Band-Aid, ripping a Band-Aid off. You make too much money, everything goes to shit. And when people like me who have been on Social Security for a while for my disability, they get reliant on that, and it scares the shit out of them to go and find a job that may not last that long. But yes, you can't just like whataboutisms, right? High risk, high reward. But a lot of people can't. It's an anxiety-inducing situation. The system traps you into the system, and it makes it very hard for you to productively get out of it with something to start new with. But all right, so back to this. Disparities, evidence of need. Black women face barriers like limited contraception access, fewer pharmacies in black neighborhoods, wage gaps. Black women earn 64% of white men's wages. Okay. But that 64% is better than the 0% if you don't work, right? Higher maternal mortality, 3 to 4 times the white rates. Maternal mortality, so they die during birth more? Is that what that means? Democrats argue bans exacerbate this, criminalizing black women. Post-op black women are 33% more likely to face prosecution for miscarriages. Kamala Harris, for instance, links abortion to voting rights suppression as a part of a broader assault on black autonomy. Why? Because of voter ID? See, Kamala Harris is trying to use This is what I mean. The Democrats only use the black community as stepping stones to get what they want. They want no voter ID because it's supposedly racist and it's easier for black Americans to get it. Here in New Hampshire, it costs you $10. $10 and a 3-hour wait in line to get a non-driver's ID. You need a birth certificate. You need like a piece of mail with your address, social security number. As long as you're documented, you don't have a problem with getting all that stuff. And there's fucking places that can help you get those things. So that right there links abortions to voting rights suppression because they want voter ID for more legitimate and properly done voting. So again, Democrats are using black Americans as a fucking crutch and as an excuse and a leverage tool. They don't care about you. They didn't care about you when they shut down the fucking government and the SNAP benefits were gone for a month almost. They didn't care about that either. They wanted to blame Trump when it was them not voting for it. They held 42 million people hostage. They're worse than Hamas. They're talking about people are starving. People are going to starve. You need to pass this health care bill. No. Again, the lower income classes, black Americans primarily, were used as a leverage. And they even said the quiet thing out loud on the news. It's the only leverage we have. It's the only leverage we have. And you know what they wanted us to do? They wanted us to use natural disaster relief funds to fund that. What was happening around the time that this shutdown was happening? Massive hurricanes down around the Gulf, down in the Caribbean. So if we had a massive tragedy like another Katrina, we wouldn't have had the funds. We wouldn't have had the funds for the natural disaster emergency funds. The Democrats don't give a shit. They haven't given a shit about the black Americans since day one. They were the ones that enslaved them. The Yankees, they were the ones that were freeing them. They couldn't get what they want, so they started the Civil War. When the Civil War didn't go their way, they created the KKK, which went around killing black Americans after slavery was abolished. They continued segregation. They used Martin Luther King. They got into the graces of the black Americans during this 1960s civil rights movement, just so that they can break civil rights, in my opinion. Democrats killed JFK. Democrat killed fucking Martin Luther King. Democrats have always been the ones attached to political assassinations that had anything to do with civil rights activism. They don't give a shit about your equality. DEI? You were just another pawn in another game of theirs. They literally think you're stupid. So I don't understand why there's been so much history in this country with the Democratic Party and the African American communities. I almost said player base, pretty much, on this PvP server we call life. With the African American communities in this country, they've always done them dirty. I'm asking for the black communities in this country to open your fucking eyes. Open your eyes. You are nothing but pawns in the Democratic game. They don't care about you. They sit there and say Black Lives Matter, but yet they freaking push for abortion rights, which is killing off the African communities in this fucking country, because 42% of freaking abortions in 2 years between 2022 and 2024 are non-Hispanic black communities, women between the ages of 15 and 44. 400, over 400 out of 1,000 pregnancies aborted. They are fucking ethno-cleansing. This is literally a genocide. Literally, they're using the voter age base of the African communities to get the votes while killing off any future that they have. Advocating for killing off the future that they have. And they want to talk about white guilt, white reparations, white America paying back the African communities. We would. Vote Republican. Vote conservative. Vote independent. Just don't vote Democrats. Because we're trying to, the conservative side is trying to stop abortions, which is what's killing your community. But I don't understand. I'm just rambling right now because it's so damn hard for me to understand. How can they say Black Lives Matter when they are pushing abortion rights, which are killing 42%, or 460-something out of 1,000 abortions or pregnancies are aborted in the black communities? How can they sit there and say Black Lives Matter? They don't care. They have never cared. And I just don't understand why the history of this country, the Democrats, doing everything that they have done to the African American community, that they're still voting for them. At 83% of the black people in America are fucking Democrat voters. How? Why? This makes no sense. And what are they doing now? They're mass migrating people from Somalia and other African countries to get the same thing. And the Democrats are the ones saying who's going to pick your crops, who's going to mow your lawn, who's going to pick your fruits and vegetables, who's going to wash your toilets, who's going to do your housework. They literally are stating who is going to be your slaves. The undocumented migrants is who they're wanting. They wanting slave labor again. And it's just history repeating itself, literally history repeating itself right now. It really is. They are turning around and saying, we're going to fucking start, pretty much, we're going to start another civil war. Because we are not okay with the migration. We're not okay with the mass illegal immigrants that were let in. You all want somebody to be pissed off at, and it's always Trump. How can you be so blatantly blind to the obvious? Black Lives Matter, but they're going to push for the abortion, which is affecting black communities in America more than any other community. Nearly half the abortions are coming from the black communities in this country. But yet, Black Lives Matter, yet they'll be okay with giving you the rights to kill your kids before birth, right? It does not make sense. How can anybody not see this, and why is nobody, like these slop tubers, the independent media, even the mainstream media, why is nobody noticing this pattern? It's because we're all distracted with the Muslim invasion, the immigrant invasions and stuff like this, the Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, There's so much that they're freaking throwing around, and then it's causing mass chaos and confusion, and they're just getting away with this shit. But please, African American communities in this country need to open their eyes. Start questioning your government. Stop being sheep, because you're just being led to the slaughter. Your legacy and the future of your bloodline is getting killed. Nearly 50% of the abortions are from black communities, and that's like 1 million abortions a year. Just imagine the population, 1 million a year. 500,000, almost 500,000 of that are from the black communities alone. The other 500,000 are combined from the other 3 other ethnic groups that they had on here. Open your eyes. Please. It's literally just, it makes no sense anymore.